some fucked up shit, I think.
Helped me set it up. When my friend arrived, we opened up my laptop and began to set everything up. He told me that they were using a program that lets you access the deep web. He also asked me if I was planning on doing anything illegal, to which I replied no. He said that since I wasn't, we didn't need to install Tails, which is apparently a software that makes it more secure if you plan on doing illegal things. A little while later, everything was set up. I had my new IP address, and my friends gave me a brief rundown on what to do and what not to do. He made it very clear that when I was using the hidden wiki, that I kept it on censor mode, so that it would be less likely for me to see something I didn't want to see. After about 2 weeks of using the deep web, I felt like a pro. I had accessed many different sites, spoken with some of the great people, made friends, even bought some weed. I had become cocky and was ready to dig deeper into the dark web. I turned off the censored mode on the hidden wiki and began to browse the links. It took a while, mostly because Tor is a bit slow and many of the links just led to dead web pages. Eventually, I stumbled onto a site called All the Gore. It was mainly a big chat room with many different topics. I had a fairly strong stomach, and I had seen many violent movies and had seen beheadings, killings, etc. through the normal internet. After looking at a few different chat rooms, I noticed how sick this site really was. The people in these chat rooms were actual killers, bragging about some of the things they had done. In the chat room, you could also post pictures. One man by the name of Culture 045 had the stage in one of the chat rooms. He was explaining in detail how he had broken into someone's house, kidnapped a little girl, and brutally killed her parents by hiding under their bed, and then opening their throats. He then explained how he brought the little girl back to his house, abused her, beat her, and cut her up. I didn't think he was telling the truth at first, but then he posted pictures. These were the most horrifying pictures I'd ever seen. Close-ups of the poor 8 to 10-year-old girl being brutally attacked, beaten, and cut with a knife. Culture kept posting pictures, the new ones of the girl, tied to a chair, bleeding, crying, throwing up, etc. Then, he showed a picture of him with a drill, drilling into her skull. The most haunting part is that while he was doing it, he was looking at the camera with sheer joy on his face. I had seen enough and typed in the chat room window, "You people are sick and deserve to die. How can you sleep at night?" Immediately, people began making fun of me, saying that I was just as helpless and ignorant as the little girl in the pictures, and that I should get off the big boy part of the internet. They began saying I was a pussy and calling me an empath, when Culture typed something in the chat box. He said, "Really? Where do you live, buddy? I'm sure everyone would love to see you on this site." I then made the biggest mistake of my life and typed, "I'm calling the police and having this site shut down." Less than a minute later, everything on the site went black, and a new chat box appeared in green. In it, someone named Admin1 typed in the box. He said, "Call the cops and you will regret it." I didn't type anything in the box and reached for my cell phone. What happened next haunts me to this day. My phone said I had a new message. I opened it and it said, "Call the police and you're dead." There was no number. It didn't even say unknown number. It was just blank. I looked back at my laptop and saw my webcam light turn on. I quickly covered it, but I saw on the screen a picture of me looking at my phone. I got wide-eyed and froze for a moment when the admin typed again. "Put the phone down right now and uncover your webcam." I put my phone down, but kept the webcam covered. He then typed again. "Okay, be like that." Right after, he posted my full name, age, and address in the chat box and typed, "It would be a shame if you and your college buddies went missing, wouldn't it?" I then did as he said and uncovered my webcam. He told me to follow his instructions on how to make it impossible for me to reach the site again. I followed each and every one. When I finished, I got a text that said, "Now, don't ever try and come back." Just like before, it had no number. I still called the police from my friend's phone, but they were never able to find the site. If you ever go on the deep web, don't ever just mindlessly explore, especially if you don't have the additional software to keep you secure. I was a stupid college kid, and I just hope nobody makes the same mistakes I did. I moved to a different home and changed all of my information, but I still get nightmares to this day. To find it. The police told me to track down the website, but this happened a few days after my original story about the deep web. I was extremely rattled by what had happened. The police tried to track down the website, but since there was no way for them to recover my history, and I had originally found the sick site by just clicking on random links, it seems pretty hopeless to find it. The police told me to change all my information about myself and to move in with a friend. After changing pretty much all of my information, I decided to move in with my friend, David. David was an extremely honest, hard-working person. He never went to parties, slacked off, got drunk/high. He was very dedicated to finishing college. In fact, he was one of the few kids I knew at the time who wasn't getting on the deep web regularly. I told him all about my experience on the deep web, and that's mostly why he agreed to let me stay with him. One night, we were both up studying very late when my phone went off. I looked to see who had texted me and saw that the person sending the message had no number, just like the last time. It read, "Check your computer." There was nothing else to it, just a simple instruction. I opened my laptop, and when I did, I noticed that I didn't have control of the mouse. I tried to move it, but the mouse had just moved on its own. Someone had remote access to my computer somehow. I never gave anyone remote access before. I tried a whole bunch of keyboard commands, but not a single one worked. I noticed that whoever had control of my laptop was downloading a software, most likely malware, but there was nothing I could do. I heard my phone go off again, and this time, the message said, "Look out your window." I was sitting right by a window. I didn't know which window the guy was referring to, so I looked out the one I was sitting by and saw a man in the parking lot, leaning up against a white van. He had a phone in his hand, and when I looked at him, he nodded. My phone went off again. Type in and hold Shift-Alt-F5 at the same time to activate the software. I called in David to my room to show him what was going on. He seemed just as nervous as I, but with the man just outside our window, we didn't want to anger him. Dave called the police right away and told me that they would be there soon. I didn't activate the software and just sat there. Eventually, I got another text. "I'm coming in if you don't do it right now." I didn't know why he or the person in control of my computer couldn't do it, but I didn't dare to ask. At the same time though, I was 99% sure this program had malware or spyware or something that would be very harmful to my computer. So, I refused to activate it. David grabbed a baseball bat, just in case the man outside tried to come in. About 5 minutes later, we heard the doorknob turning. It was locked, but we then heard banging at the door. We both freaked out and I looked out the window again. Sure enough, the man and the van were gone. The banging on the door got more and more violent until eventually we heard a horrible scratching sound. It lasted a few more minutes, and then we heard footsteps walk down the hall and eventually fade away. I received another text. "We will be back." That really got to me. When the cops arrived, they told me to look at my door. I followed them back out into the hallway and saw, engraved in our door, my name. The police began investigating the whole building, and they had a tech police officer come in and look at my computer. He began to do scans and investigate the weird software on my laptop. Eventually, he managed to close and remove it, and told me that my laptop isn't safe. He said the core files have been hacked into / corrupted. We did a complete wipe of my laptop, and he looked at my phone as well. Just like last time, he couldn't tell where the messages came from, and told me that they would be sure to keep some cops nearby in case this happens again. The next day, I had just got home from school and was really tired. David wasn't home yet, so I went into my room and fell into the bed. I had just begun to close my eyes when I heard a rattling sound in my closet. I lifted my head up and didn't hear it again. So I went back to sleep. After a few minutes, the closet door swung open. I leaped out of bed and saw a man with a mask walking over to me. I ran for the door and slammed it behind me. I ran out into the parking lot, started my car and drove away as fast as I could. By the time the police arrived, the man, of course, was gone. The apartment, surprisingly, hadn't been wrecked or anything. We didn't even find anything stolen. He didn't seem to do anything at first. This night, 2 police officers were monitoring everyone who came in / out of the building in order to catch the man. I opened my laptop and noticed that my wallpaper had changed. It was just a bunch of trees, but it had been changed to a sickening photo of a man with a mask. The same mask that I saw on the man who was in my closet, digging a knife into a baby's eyes in what looked like a small cabin. I also noticed that all my applications and programs were gone, and I saw the same software as last time, right in the middle. I clicked on it, and it had already been installed. Just like last time, it filled the entire screen, and what looked like a live stream was going on. I couldn't exit out, and the live stream was coming from a boy's house. He looked about 13 or 14, and was at his computer. It didn't take long for me to see that I was watching through his webcam, and he had no idea. I saw a small chat box pop up in the bottom right of the screen, and in it, someone typed in the box, "Welcome to our live stream. We are glad everyone could be here. Thank you, John, for being here as well." My eyes got very wide. My name was John, and they were waiting until I was watching to start the live stream. As I watched, I saw that the closet door behind the boy slowly opened, and a man walked out with a toolbox in one hand. He quietly set the toolbox down and pulled out some duct tape. He went behind the kid and put the tape over his mouth and grabbed him tight. The poor kid's face was of total fear. He tried to scream, but he couldn't because of the tape. They were making a decent amount of noise, so it told me that the kid must have been home alone. Major NSFW here, so proceed with caution, please. I tried hard to exit out, but I couldn't. I then saw the man take out a screwdriver and drive it into the kid's chest. Blood began to pour out, and the kid made an awful wheezing type noise. I saw tears come from his eyes as this sick man began to drive the screwdriver deeper and deeper, and then yank it out. The man took out a hammer and smashed the kid's hands several times till they were nothing more than a mangled, bloody mess. I tried every command I could to exit out, but nothing was working. I noticed that in the chat box, several people were cheering the man on and requesting for him to do different things to the boy. The man then took out a handheld electrical saw, pressed it against the boy's face, and turned it on. The boy screamed with pain as the saw went up into his eye, causing blood to go everywhere and get on the camera a little as well. I started to get tears in my eyes as I couldn't stop it. Then, the man took the screwdriver, gouged out the kid's eyes, and took out a large knife. He proceeded to slit the boy's throat and tossed him on the ground. I was sick. I threw up all over the floor, and when I looked back, I saw the chat box. People typing horrible things like "fap fap fap" or "oh my god, that was so wonderful, thanks so much for doing this," etc. In the box, I saw someone named Culture045 type into the box, "Thanks for watching, John." After that, the program closed on its own, and I was left with a sickening wallpaper. I was sweating, breathing heavy, and feeling sick. Throughout the entire thing, I didn't realize that my phone had gone off several times. I looked at it, and the most hateful, mean messages were coming from my friends and family. I asked my mom what was wrong, and she texts back, "You sent that sick, disturbing live stream to everyone. I can't believe who you are. The police have been..."
Oh, I'm saying one of the YouTubers should do a react video of this.
It's on YouTube right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know how YouTubers watch like this and they react to it?
Yeah.
I'm saying one of the YouTubers that I watch should do that. Since he does react videos and then he also does gaming videos and he does pranking videos.
Called. I felt even more sick than before. Those monsters had sent that live stream to all my friends somehow and made it come from me. They'd pretty much ruined my life within a couple of minutes. When the police arrived, I told them everything that had happened, and quickly they managed to explain to all my friends and family what had happened. They really cracked down on finding these people, and a month later, 4 men had been arrested. One was Culture045, and the other was Admin1, and the 2 others were working with them. The site was found and shut down as well, and I got a new laptop and phone. I could say some horror cliche here and say something like I kept getting texts or kept hearing weird things ever since, but none of that happened. They were arrested, and I never heard anything further. It's good to know those men are in jail or perhaps even dead. But what scares me is all the people watching the live stream, who were there for pleasure, are still out there, and that there is probably thousands of Culture045s out there, all over the world. If you ever go on the deep web make sure you're as careful as possible.
Hey, what's up my friend Calicanai here, and welcome to my home. Now, as you continue to pay attention here over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you some things that I think that you're going to find.
Your subconscious didn't want to click this, but you did anyway. That's good. Well, maybe not good exactly, but it's a start. Let's just be honest with ourselves. You are dead. Not in that look behind you jump scare sense, in the you have been dead for some time sense. Deep down you know it, or suspect it at least. But right this second, you are amused by this. Where's this going, you ask? So you're not quite ready yet. That's to be expected. Denial, a vital part of human experience. You've heard your life passes before your eyes when you die. It does, but not the way you think. Your past doesn't flash before you. Your future does. Not your real future, the future you imagine for yourself. The human mind doesn't handle severe change well. It needs to take time to process. Remember losing the first thing you really loved? How your perceptions changed? That was your mind trying to sort it out. That's what your life is now. It's your dying mind trying to sort things out. Again, deep down, you know you are dead. But it can't be spelled out here. It would be too emotionally traumatic. So, instead, here are a few examples of something that might have happened. That near miss when you avoided a horrible accident. That time you almost drowned but came up at the last minute. That horrible illness that you made a miraculous recovery from. Any of that sound a little familiar? At the moment of death, your mind isn't quite ready to accept the sudden, jarring end to everything.
Holy fuck, that's freaky.
Your subconscious didn't want to click this, but you did anyway. That's good. Well, maybe not good exactly, but it's a start. Let's just be honest with ourselves. You are dead. Not in that look behind you jump scare sense, in the you have been dead for some time sense. Deep down you know it, or suspect it at least. But right this second, you are amused by this. Where's this going, you ask? So you're not quite ready yet. That's to be expected. Denial, a vital part of human experience. You've heard your life passes before your eyes when you die. It does, but not the way you think. Your past doesn't flash before you. Your future does. Not your real future, the future you imagine for yourself. The human mind doesn't handle severe change well. It needs to take time to process. Remember losing the first thing you really loved? How your perceptions changed? That was your mind trying to sort it out. That's what your life is now. It's your dying mind trying to sort things out. Again, deep down, you know you are dead. But it can't be spelled out here. It would be too emotionally traumatic. So, instead, here are a few examples of something that might have happened. That near miss when you avoided a horrible accident. That time you almost drowned but came up at the last minute. That horrible illness that you made a miraculous recovery from. Any of that sound a little familiar? At the moment of death, your mind isn't quite ready to accept the sudden, jarring end to everything. So, it invents your future. That's not possible. It makes no sense, you're thinking. That's okay. Time is subjective. Remember how dreams feel like days? Or how, when you're in pain, seconds feel like hours? This is just another manifestation of that. In reality, you died less than a second ago. Even as your brain tries to cope, it also tries to understand death. So, have you found yourself with more of a fascination with death? Horror? Maybe movies? Maybe books? Maybe short, scary stories? You've read a few tales. It's comfortable, because you are working towards the truth. This sight is simply your mind's manifestation of a coping mechanism. Everything here you've read and listened to is preparing you for the transition. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Well, for you it kind of is. Humor. Another coping mechanism. So, you're going to close this story with a snort, or a shake of the head. This isn't the finale. This isn't the time you will accept the truth. It's the first seed. You know how, in dreams, you don't remember everything in reality? What's your mother's favourite food? What's the first thing you felt guilty about? Do you remember where you got every scar? Where is the first place you went on vacation? Anything fuzzy? Are you forgetting things you should know?
Yeah.
You are shutting down. Think about it. Sleep well.
What the fuck? That's freaky. This is interesting to me. Like, fuck, I wanna watch more. Fuck, what is freaky?
Any guy can wear a hat, but only you can turn heads in one. You got something.
Warning.
I did a lot of digging, mostly out of boredom, and stumbled upon one of the most messed up things I've ever seen. It was called Animal's Nightmare. It appears to be down now, and as the title might hint at, it was a site for people to share videos and pictures of them torturing animals. Most of the users seemed to get off to it, the mutilation and suffering of animals. It chilled me to the bone to see some of the replies to a guy beating his dog with a piece of metal, saying stuff like, "Kill him, shove it inside of him," and other such comments. No animal was sacred. Rural road, where most aren't likely to. I visited 4chan since I was 14 or 15, and I was always intrigued by some of the IRC chats and other edgy stuff. I tried Tor after someone explained it when I was 16 or 17 or so. Someone told me about the hidden wiki and how to get free drugs and stuff. I thought it was pretty neat when they talked about it. Let's say that my mind changed after a few hours of browsing. Like I implied,
Guys, tons of different videos with many different styles, but it seems that most of you prefer the creepy and sometimes scary videos I used to show when this channel had first started, and proof of that is the fact only one of them recently hit over 1 million views, and that is of course episode 1 of 5 disturbing deep web videos. So I decided to do another episode today, only this time we will be featuring 8 videos instead of 5. Hope you guys enjoy. Many videos on the deep web or the regular internet can be argued as real, untampered footage, while it is clear that others are simply the results of good special effects. This first video starts off innocent enough, with a small child singing and coloring in a book, before hearing a strange sound and briefly looking up. She then returns to coloring, but what happens next may surprise you.
I'm scared.
I decided to look this video up on the regular web and found it titled Nanny Cam Fail on a channel named Blackbox TV. Turns out the little girl in the video has a YouTube channel and is named Linda Lee Rose.
The girl gets gets pulled under the bed with the monster pulling her under the bed. And you know who that little girl is? It's me.
This second video is about as weird as it gets. The man in the video appears to be acting like someone's pet and to also be an amputee, but I believe his limbs are intact and hidden through the holes in the blanket beneath him. What do you guys think?
What the hell?
Now, I wasn't able to find that clip or an explanation for it on the regular web, and honestly, I wasn't even sure what I should type into Google in order to find it. After trying several combinations of the words dog, guy, black, suit, and amputee, let's just say I got some very interesting and disgusting results. So if anyone has any info on this, let me know. It has been rumored that the deep web is the only place to find legitimate photos of real aliens that the government does not want you to see. Is this next video an example of just that? You be the judge. Now, I myself believe the video to be a fake, mainly because the alien fits the stereotypical Hollywood image we all have of aliens, and second, because the men in the background can be heard laughing, which I'm pretty sure none of us would do if we were capturing footage of an actual alien being. This next video is called the Mama Movement Test, which was not at all hard to find on the regular web on a channel titled Mama. I would not recommend watching this at night, especially before going to bed.
Oof. I'm only gonna sleep at night now.
This next video isn't so much disturbing as it is random. I'm not sure if the man in the video that can be seen walking was made to look this way or if he is actually disabled, even though I've never seen anyone with this condition. That is, until I googled it and found several people, but not this specific person. If you're someone who really hates clowns, maybe you should skip ahead to the next video.
What is that?
This next video is nothing more than footage of a KKK rally. I couldn't find this exact footage elsewhere, but I'm sure if you look hard enough you can find it. I'm not sure who the man is at the end, so if anyone knows, please comment below. This next video is also footage of an apparent alien, but let's just say the first one was a lot more believable. But once again, the video is only in black and white, which seems to be an ongoing theme with the last 4 videos. This last video is security cam footage of 2 men being killed by a gas cylinder explosion, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to censor part of it even though the video is fake and I found the original on YouTube, which is in color, making it a lot more obvious. I featured fake blood in a previous video which YouTube ended up removing, so I have to be careful.
What happened? Did that explode?
And that was it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And I also just created a Patreon, so if you guys would ever like to make a small donation, the link to that will be in the description down below.
Quando o PA se abre, ela bota no repeat, diz que é hit.
These are 3 scary true deep web stories that we found on the internet. Let's begin. Okay, where do I begin? This story might disturb some of you, but then again, if you're searching for deep web stories, then the truth is you want to be disturbed. My uncle told me this story that I'm about to share to you. A boy of 11 years old named Billy thought it was pretty cool to do everything that his parents didn't want him to do. He was just one of those kids that didn't give a crap. Well, Billy had a fascination with the deep web. Every night he would go on websites like Reddit, hoping to read the latest sick adventures that someone had to witness while accessing the deep web. I don't know why some individuals like to watch or read disturbing things. It baffles me. I know that sounds weird considering I'm sharing you this story, but please remember this is not my story. Eventually, Billy got the courage to go on the deep web. Now, just in case some of you don't know what the deep web actually is, the deep web is basically the hidden part of the internet, and you need to download Tor just to access it. Tor is supposed to keep you anonymous, and trust me, staying anonymous is a priority, because some of the individuals that you will soon find out are very sick, perverted people that will do everything they can to cause pain. The pain might be physical, it might be mental, but if they had their way, it would be both. They strive on pain. They need to deliver pain, it's their release. Billy got first hand on how sick the deep web really is when he began to watch some of the videos on the deep web. He paid in bitcoins to watch it, and he wished he hadn't. One of the videos really shocked Billy as he saw a teenage girl chained up holding a sign saying, "Help me." On one side of the video was a chat box where users were posting the most meaningful of comments to the girl saying her time is coming up to see the devil. Now Billy was one screwed up kid, but he wasn't that screwed up. He wished now that he listened to his friend's advice and stayed well away from the deep web. This deeply affected Billy, where even his parents were getting worried about how his character was changing. Before he accessed the deep web, he was this cool kid that lived his own independent life, that listened to no one, and now he's a kid that just likes to be by himself. The laughter has gone and turned into sadness. Even the teacher contacted his parents, but neither would work out what the problem was. All Billy had in his mind was that poor girl he saw in the video. Her eyes full of sadness, begging for help, knowing the chances of any help were very slim. Those eyes were the first thought Billy had when waking up and were the last thought before he fell asleep. Eventually, Billy got the courage to access the deep web once again to try and locate the poor girl. Billy's friends refused to help, too scared to ever access the deep web. All I know is that Billy saw the video again. This time, the girl looked even more ill than before. She no longer even had the energy to stand up with the sign. She just laid there on the bed with her hands and feet chained up. It was a sight that made Billy so angry that he had to comment about how evil the son of the bitches were. It was the biggest mistake of Billy's life. A comment came back saying, "You better watch out what you say, otherwise you'll find yourself chained up just like that little bitch." Billy then threatened to call the police. Well, I now know that Billy never did contact the police. He went missing a few days later. According to witnesses, the last time he was seen, he was walking home after school and got into a car. A white Civic. I'm now going to ask my uncle if he hurt Billy, like he hurt that poor girl. I hate my uncle. He's a murderer that is going to die in prison. The question I dread to ask him though is, how many people has he killed? Everything I have told you is from his mouth. The police have got me to talk to him to get as much information from him as possible. I'm begging you, please don't access the deep web, because you just never know who's lurking around. The same goes for the normal internet. Don't trust no one. If you're scared, then just talk to someone because they might be able to help. What really hits me hard is that I'm turning 12 years old in 3 weeks. I wonder if Billy will ever see his 12th birthday. Only my uncle will be able to answer that question. I'm sure by this point you've all heard about the deep net. It's been talked about more and more in relation to places like Silk Road and child pornography rings the world over. I've even heard about a website where people were able to buy and sell children. Despite all of these dark secrets lurking in the recesses of the internet, nothing could have prepared me for Martinet. If you were to ask me where I first heard about it, I cannot even give a coherent answer. It's like bits and pieces in existence reached me over the years. Even from the fragments of knowledge I had about it, I could tell it was a place that I was not even remotely fucked up enough to venture into. Unfortunately, I wound up falling for a girl who was fated to lead me right down the rabbit hole. Her name was Amanda, and we were taking Statistics 120 together every Thursday night. I'm normally really bad at approaching girls, but when she introduced herself as a Sedona native, I jumped at the chance to make fun of the vortex that so many Sedonians believe in. "So how many aliens have you seen?" I asked. A few other people around the class looked at me like I was stupid, but I could tell Amanda got it. She just smiled back at me and said, 3 actually. After sitting together through a few more classes together, we finally decided to hang out outside of school. She invited me back to her place and we smoked some weed and listened to some folky Pandora stations. It wasn't until a few shots of tequila got thrown into the mix that things started to heat up. I had just gotten her top off when she suddenly looked at me weird, like she had just remembered something. "I shouldn't," she said quietly. "I think you really like me." "It would just be meaningless for me," she said. That hurt, honestly. As down as I am for meaningless sex, I was a little too enamoured by her just to let something like that bounce off me. I don't know if it was just the situation or the added shots of tequila and pot, but I was at a loss of words. It was like she had just shut off. Awkwardly, I rolled off her bed and got dressed and showed myself out. The next week, she never showed up to class. It wasn't until then that I really tried calling her up and getting hold of her, but she wouldn't answer my calls and she wasn't responding to me on Facebook. After another week went by, I got desperate and drove out to her apartment. The front door was unlocked, but no one was inside. I was on the verge of calling the police, but I figured maybe I should look around a little more. Shamelessly, I opened up her laptop and looked around. That was where I found the torrent download for the program Martinet. She had already installed it and had a window minimized. When I clicked the shortcut, it brought up a chat log between her and a few other users in the private conversation. They had been talking about prices. Apparently, the 3 other users had agreed to pay her $20,000 for something. I felt suddenly sick to my stomach. Was it for sex? Was she a prostitute or something? Desperately, I scrolled up to find out more information, but the last thing I saw was a date before I heard the door slam shut. Monday night at 3 AM on Alpha server. "Hello?" came her familiar voice. "Is someone in here?" "It's me," I said, figuring I ought to just get it over with. "What the fuck, Leo?" she said. I said to her, "I was worried about you." "Well, don't. You don't even know me. What makes you think you just come into my house like this?" I apologised again and again, but she wasn't calming down. Even in her anger, I could tell there was something very different about her. She had deep, deep bags under her eyes, and she looked paler than usual. On her head, she had tied a purple bandana, covering up her already thin hair. "Just get the hell out of here and don't come here ever again. You're just a thing, an accident." I pretended not to be hurt by that, and closed the door behind me on my way out. All I could think about on the drive home was how sickly she looked. Had she always been that way and I never noticed? What was she getting into? It was almost impossible to concentrate in class for the following few days. I hadn't known Amanda for that long, but I felt compelled to know what was going to happen. I couldn't just forget about everything.